Okay, welcome to another episode of Panakal Podcast for Geeks, the show where good friends hang out, talk about the things we all love. My guest today is Djamila Knopf, whose name I just learned how to say properly. I almost said that word wrong. Today we're going to talk about Tim Burton films. Sorry for the double echo. I forgot I had Twitch open. So, how's it going? Wait.
It's going really well.
Okay, for a second there, I thought the audio was broken.
Is the audio okay? I think the audio is fine.
Yeah, I think we're fine. Anyone who watches this show knows I always have audio issues. So I actually have people watching to let me know if the audio is broken. So
yeah, so if I sound weird, tell us. Yeah, I'm doing really well. I just booked my vaccine appointment.
Your first shot?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get it like in a week and a couple of days because they just opened it up for everybody on Monday and people have been trying to get it like crazy. And I don't have a job where, it's a priority. I'm pretty young, so I've had to wait and now I finally have it. So I'm happier than I've been in a long, long time. Finally got it.
Do you know if they're gonna give you, do you know which shot you're getting?
Yeah, I'm getting Pfizer, BioNTech.
Cool. So I got Pfizer as well, and I'll tell you right now, just it's the same thing I told. I learned this from my wife because when she got it, none of us thought you had to drink a lot. We just went about as if you got a flu shot, right? But stay as hydrated as you can because it dehydrates you a lot. The first one, not so much, but the second one will knock you out if you are like I think it took me 3 days to recover.
Yeah, I've heard that from people, but I've never heard the dehydration issue. That's good to know. But
I was just drinking tons of water.
So.
Yeah, I was drinking a lot of water and tea, and I'm not big on water and tea all the time, and I would not have known that if, okay, audio's all good. Thanks, guys. I wouldn't have known that if my wife, didn't unfortunately take a hit for the team, right? She got sick and she was out. So, but congrats on the shot. Hopefully, I heard some people have no reaction, so you might be all right. Well, we were going to talk about Tim Burton films, which you sent me a list and I thought this is perfect because I actually really love, what's funny is when I told people we were going to talk about Tim Burton, a lot of people were like, either A, haven't seen a lot of his movies, which is okay. Which, surprisingly, you would think they haven't, but if you actually list them off to them, they have. Because, I guarantee you everyone has seen Tim Burton's Batman.
Yeah, that's true. Yes.
But they don't associate that with him because it's so different. Or, a movie that a lot of people don't think about, Sleepy Hollow, Again, it's just different enough from his normal style that people are like, that's Tim Burton, And then the last one he did, which was Dumbo for Disney.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't even know he did that one. So
I haven't seen it. So
apparently, so I did a dive on his movies just to be like, let's see what's the most popular. And Dumbo is in the top 5 of his highest grossing, not most popular, highest grossing films.
Yeah, I can imagine that, definitely. Those remakes, they get like a ton of...
apparently people love remakes, man. And I went down the list and it's interesting because so if you go 5 to 1, it goes Dumbo. I'm checking my notes, by the way. I didn't memorize any of this. Planet of the Apes, Batman, which I figured Batman would be on that list. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and number 1. Do you want to guess what number 1 is?
Ooh, oh God, let me think.
I definitely didn't get it right.
Yeah, that's what I'm... No, I don't know.
Alice in Wonderland.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was thinking Edward Scissorhands, but that's too old. Like, movies back then didn't make that crazy amount of money. But Alice in Wonderland, that makes sense.
Apparently, Edward Scissorhands came out after Batman. I always thought it was the other way around.
Oh, I have no idea. I was young back then. I just watched them in any order they came to me.
Yeah, my cousins were, the first movie I ever saw. Okay, here's a good question. What was the first Tim Burton movie you ever saw?
I can't really tell you because I was young and my memory is terrible. That's one thing. That's also why I love Tim Burton movies because they're so visually iconic because they
Hmm.
stick in my head. And I think the first one I remember consciously is Edward Scissorhands. That's
Yeah.
been a really big one for me. And then sometime after that, maybe Sleepy Hollow. But I didn't watch it when it came out. That's for sure. Just later.
Sleepy,
What was
yeah. Edward Scissorhands was my first one.
yeah.
And it was like, it was at a time when I was watching like action movies and, it was like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone's and all that. And then I get this totally, my cousins basically sat me down one day and said, here's this movie. Cause I was always, when you're an artist, you in a group of other people, you definitely stand out, right? Like, especially in a family event or something like that. So my cousins were like, this movie is just different enough. And it reminds us a lot of you because you're different. And they didn't mean it in like a mean way. They were like, you will enjoy this. And I remember watching that movie the whole time. And my first take on that movie was he's in this town full of people who are treating him like a freak, right? And when I'm just like, everybody else here is a freak. That dude is the most normal person in the bunch because he emotes all the emotions that you would have, right? He cares about people. He's helping people. He's just trying to get through life. He's enjoying life, So that movie really spoke to me. And it's like one of my top 5 favorite films ever, So, but then, then I did a little more a deep dive on Burton films. Because after that, I realized he did Beetlejuice and he did Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which that's a weird film, man. I don't know if you want to pee.
I watched like a little video of all his movies like as a summary, and then that came out, and I'm like, I've never heard of it. I've never seen it. I've just always been into like the big iconic ones that are like clearly Tim Burton, like Before Christmas and Corpse Bride. And
so here's the thing: he didn't do Nightmare Before Christmas. Apparently, he just produced it.
I mean, yeah.
I didn't trust me. That's something I learned because somebody else said it to me, right? Because I was like, "Oh, Tim Burton did Nightmare. It's perfect. It fits his style." And everyone's like, "No, it's a see, I can't remember the dude's name. It's Tim Burton produced. I'm gonna do a quick Google search for us because that's the way.
But it seems like a lot of his voice and ideas somehow got into that thing.
I mean, he is the the producer on the film, I think. So Henry Selick. Yeah, Tim Burton was one of the writers, and I think he was a producer. I'm not gonna deep dive this, but yeah, it definitely fits his aesthetic, right? So it's perfect. But yeah, I was shocked to hear that it just wasn't a Burton film. But it's also cool to see that he's inspired enough people where you see a film and you say, that's got a little Tim Burton on it, right?
Yeah.
So
and I think that was kind of right now you can really see it like seeping into all kinds of different things people are inspired by. But back then it was weird enough in the mainstream to be like really unusual and to really stand out, and that's why I gravitated towards it. Like as a goth teenage kid, that was just perfect for me. I was just like, oh yeah, I love that. I love that aesthetic, and just finding something like this in like among all these regular movies, that was just amazing. And I everything that had like a fantastic twist to it, and this is just full of it. And those stories of like outcasts, people who don't really fit in, like you talked about earlier. Sorry, my light went out. I think that's just perfect for us artists, especially because we feel that so often, kind of being the odd one out.
You can connect with it, right? And then you're just like, I'm kind of that guy right there. And then you like and it speaks to you in a specific way that it doesn't speak to everybody that way. And that's I've met enough people where they're like, he's not my cup of tea, or he's too weird for me. And I'm like, that's I'm not gonna I almost never spend my time trying to defend it now. Now, I'll admit, when I was younger, younger me would have been like, what do you mean you don't like Tim Burton? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, he's like a brilliant director, I used to do that with a lot of directors that I like, but a little more older me now is like, not worth it. Like you enjoy it, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if somebody's like, I hate this guy for this reason or whatever. And you're just like, cool, man. move along.
Yeah. And you cannot change people's tastes. It's just, it might not be their thing. That's fine. I mean, I don't enjoy everything that is highly acclaimed. It's just like, oh, it's not really my theme. It's
Yep.
fine. You don't enjoy it. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen movies where they're like, this is an Oscar winner, and you're like, why? You know, like, but like, you know, I actually like, I went through the list. So just a basic list of Tim Burton movies, you know, and I was like, you know, he, you know, not all of his movies are hits to me, you know, like Planet of the Apes is a good example of a movie that, excuse me, wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. Because I get what he was trying to do. He was trying to do that nostalgic spin on it all, and try to not deviate too far from the. I don't know if you've seen the original Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Okay, it's, you know, it's old, so when you watch it, you're just like, it's a hard watch. But you know, he didn't get it right, in my opinion. Like, he did okay, and that's the same thing with what is it called? Dark Shadows, which is, you know, I get what he was trying to do. He's trying to make it a kind of a dark comedy, and he brought in his main dude, Johnny Depp, who's amazing. Yeah. I love Johnny Depp. But if you watch the original Dark Shadows, which is also a really old show, right? You're talking like older. It was like before I was born, I think. It's a little more of a dark series, right? And you know, he tried to put his own spin on it. But then he did stuff right. Like Sleepy Hollow is perfect, in my opinion.
Was there a previous version of that, or was that just like his?
Of Sleepy Hollow?
Yeah.
Just like there was an animated cartoon, and then he didn't. But the thing was, he didn't like deviate too far from the story, right? He's like, there's a Ichabod Crane, there's a headless horseman, and then this mystery. In the book, you never get anything. If you read the original Sleepy Hollow, it's just a story, and the dude's gone. Nobody ever finds him. Whatever. But in the movie, they did that cool spin where that lady is like possessed and trying to take over and get the wealth. And I'm like, okay. And I actually really like, I saw that movie in the theater, I remember, and the whole time I was like, this is creepy, especially when you see the horseman for the first time. It's like, I'm like, that dude means business, you know? And again, Johnny Depp, you can't, a lot of people hate Johnny Depp. I don't hate Johnny Depp. I think he's a great actor. So, it's a little weird, right? He's weird. And that's what we like about him, I think. I'm always going to come back to the weirdness of his characters, right? Like, I can just, and then I was looking at other movies that, I guess, you know, I mentioned Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which is, if you've never seen Pee-wee's Playhouse, then that movie just throws you off altogether. So, you never seen Pee-wee's Playhouse?
I don't know anything.
I think you're too young. You're too young for that.
I don't think I'm. No.
I mean, it came out in, when was Pee-wee's Playhouse? In the 90s, I think. It was a cool show, man. It was a brilliant idea. I don't know if the actor who plays Pee-wee is actually the guy who created the show or not, but it had like, you know, it's like a perfect Burton like setup, right? He lives in this trippy ass house with like talking furniture and magical creatures, and then there's random characters that pop in. Like Lawrence Fishburne was on that show, I think. That was like his first acting job. He was like a cowboy that would show up all the time, and you're like, not a lot of people know that, right? Unless you research Lawrence Fishburne, but it's just wild. And then you can see where, like, why, you know, I don't know if Tim Burton had anything to do with that show, but I can see why he got the movie. So they're like, this dude's just weird enough to do this movie too. So, I had something else to say about Burton, but I can't. Let me check my notes.
So much to say. What do you think about, you think Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Because that was a remake as well.
So, you know, I really like the original because that's the first, you know, and also the book. I don't know if you ever read the book. The book is super weird, okay, and a little darker. So I could see like why Burton might have combined both of those together, because he's got his little dark comedy angle now mixed with the original. And I didn't hate the remake, but there are parts of it where I was like, I don't know. I felt like it kind of deviated away from the children's aspect. Like when when they show his dad, for example, and when they showed Willy Wonka's dad, and he's getting his teeth pulled, you know, and he's in that office and all that. And I was kind of like, we all get it. He had a bad childhood, and he wanted children to be happier. So he created this magical place and candy, which kids love, and all that jazz. So the little things like that, I was like, nope. But I did like it, you know. But I don't know. I think my heart still likes the original just because that's what I love. Gene Wilder.
Yeah, that's tough to live up to, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough to live up to. But I did enjoy it because he was able to kind of recreate that magic with new stuff, if that makes sense, you know, like, and visually it was beautiful.
Yeah, definitely.
But, I think one of my really other favorite films by him was Big Fish, which a lot of people don't tend to like.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's beautiful. Like, it's more colorful than some other stuff, but I just think it's such a beautiful story. And
yeah,
yeah,
a lot of people don't like that movie because I guess it confused them, and I feel like he left it open in a way for you to interpret it however you want, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, did this dude really go on those adventures and see all this stuff? Or is he batshit crazy? And, you know, like, is that his mental ailment? You know, like, or is he just that, you know, like I mean, as an artist, you and I, you know, we come up with stuff off the top of our heads all day. And, I mean, I can imagine things in the room if I wanted to, right? But I'm not going to walk around telling people that because people think I'm crazy, you know?
Yeah, but that kind of ambiguity in the end is what I really like about it. I don't need everything to be like tied up in a perfect bow and just presented like, here's what it is. It's black and white. I'm like, I like having the option to decide how to interpret it. And so visually, that film was beautiful. It's not this like usual dark stuff, but it's still like so whimsical and special, stands out among.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's one of those things where it's not a big... that's one of those movies where it's not a big studio movie. It was like his own thing. So he didn't have to like fall to the... what's the word I'm looking for? He didn't have to listen to exactly what the producers wanted, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you watched... take Batman... the original Batman and then Batman Returns, right? The original Batman, I thought, was done perfectly. Like, it shows an older Batman. He's established. People know he exists in the system. And then he's stopping this villain that he basically helped create. And then they have Batman Returns, where it's just all over the place. Still a good film. But it was like, they were like, we can make a lot of money on this, and we need to... And Warner Brothers was basically pumping money into that, right? Because it was at a time where basically, you know, strike while the iron's hot. And that's what they were doing. But at the same time, that movie... in my opinion, is not as good as the original one. I was just kind of like, okay, this is not a bad film, but you try to put a lot into, you know, you see directors do that nowadays, where they try to pile everything in at once, and then it turns into garbage. God. Yeah. We don't have to list those movies yet. But,
no, we don't. But we have some in mind, I think.
Yeah, and I was just like, that's how I felt with, you know, dude, I still remember when I saw Batman Returns. I saw that in the theater too. My cousins took me. It was the first time I realized you can pre-order tickets for a movie.
Ooh.
Yeah, because my cousin, I remember, I was like, there's this huge line. We're never going to get into this movie. Like, he was like, we're going to get lunch. And I'm just like, we have to wait in this line. I'm not going to have a seat for the, you know, I'm a huge comic book nut, right? So I was like, you know, I don't know, 12, I think, when it came out. And I was like, I want to see this movie. Like, I need to get in line. And what he's not telling me is that he's got tickets. Like, he's not saying those words to me. We have assigned seats. We're fine. And I was actually giving him a hard time about it a couple of weeks back when we were hanging out, because he was like, he casually just walked past the line and we sat down. I was just like, what just happened? You know? So
it's magic.
Yeah, I was like, what just happened? What's going on? You just cut. You know, you cut in front of like 50 people. And he's like, no, man, we got tickets.
I love that. Like, you have this story to, you know, remind whole experience. That's really the best when you can associate it with something.
Well, you know
else.
what's funny is, like, my cousin's that's like one of his early movies. He used to take us to movies when we were old enough to go with him. And then the second movie decides to take us to his freaking Aliens 3, which scares the crap out of my sister and gave me nightmares for a week, right? Which, not the best movie in the world, by the way. I'm trying to think. There was another Tim Burton film. Oh, Ed Wood. Have you seen Ed Wood?
You list all the ones I have not seen. I'm just like a
All
classic,
right, let's go. Let's go down the list of the ones you have seen. You haven't seen Ed Wood? You should put that on your list. It's actually based on an actual, like a real director. And if you read his backstory, he wasn't the best director in the world, but he had interesting ideas. You know, I can't remember the movie. They came from Planet 99 or something. It was like this. It's rated as like the worst B flick or something ever. And my friends and I watched it. I'm a little more forgiving of movies, I think, because I was like, that's not that bad with the budget he had. I mean, that looks like a film I would have made if that's all the money I had. Not the greatest film, obviously. But Tim Burton's take on it is amazing.
Okay, I'll put that on my list.
So what have you seen by Tim Burton? Let's go with that. Not to put you on the spot.
You're really putting me on the spot, like, yeah, I have all these facts. But it's good, I'm learning from you. I can, like, fill this in. But you just have to imagine this, like, 14-year-old goth kid with, like, this shaved head on the side. And I'm like, oh, this looks like something I might enjoy. So everything that's a little bit more realistic, like Ed would probably not be like on my radar.
Yeah, it would catch your attention.
The big one was Edward Scissorhands. That's my favorite, like I mentioned. And then Sleepy Hollow was what I loved. I just watched it over and over again. I just thought the aesthetics were so beautiful, and like this little thing you could roll with this bird cage, just the symbol.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then again, it's just like these small things that you really remember. Because I mentioned before, I have a hard time with my memory for some reason. I seriously think there's something wrong with my brain. I cannot remember plots of movies. After I've seen them, I'm just like, whether I liked it or not, I can tell you that, but I cannot tell you anything about the story. It's already slipping away. So I have to watch a movie at least 5 times to be able to tell you what happened. But if it's really visually impressive and the characters are memorable and there's lots of symbolism in there and lots of like beautiful sets, and that's where my brain really latches onto things, and it just checked all these boxes for me. And yeah, I just watched it so many times that eventually was able to tell you what happened, but I haven't seen it in a couple of years.
Sure, I mean,
kind of, and all that is what I really, really loved. And I love the music of them all. I think
it's Danny Elfman, right?
Yeah, you really have to talk about the music. It's just still one of my favorite things to listen to when I draw. It puts you in a world that is just like different from ours, just right away. And I really, really love that.
Yeah, he's got he's really, the music, I think his go-to, like, so just like his go-to actor is Johnny Depp, I believe his go-to composer is Danny Elfman, who, I can't remember what movie was, I forgot what movie he did first for Burton, but I remember reading an article about how, he's Danny Elfman, anyone watching, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was the lead singer or one of the original writers for Oingo Boingo, Whip It, the song Whip It. And so when Burton asked him to compose music for the movie, he was just like, it's not what I do. I don't do soundtracks. I do music. I make music like on the side. And so he did it, and obviously now you have Elfman composing. Yeah. Like, they're all, I mean, did he do the Batman soundtrack? Because that soundtrack's amazing.
I think so.
It's trying to...
It's pretty recognizable. You can always tell it's...
Yeah, I mean, he's got a very specific use of like violins and is it a xylophone that he uses all the time? I forget. But yeah, you can hear the song and you'd be like, that's an Elfman song, which is cool, right?
Yeah.
Let's see, Danny Elfman, composer. It's the easiest way to do this. What? Yeah, he does all the music for Tim Burton films. It's the first thing that comes up on the list.
I just can't really describe it, what kind of quality it has. It's just like maybe the epitome of whimsical. There's just something like, it's cheerful and magical and just, yeah.
And you know, like what's cool is like on the opposite spectrum of that, he can go dark, right? Because he did write the music for Batman, and he did. I'm looking at this other list, dude. Apparently, he also wrote the music for Spider-Man, which is very good.
Didn't he also do Mission Impossible?
He did.
Iconic.
Yeah, he did. He did Mission Impossible. There you go. See, your memory's not that bad.
It's not a plot though, so.
I mean, you got the music down. Yeah, he did. He did 50 Shades of Grey, apparently.
Ooh, I have not seen that.
I don't know why anybody would waste their time on that. It doesn't seem like the quality movie you want to watch. Sorry for any 50 Shades fans out there. Apparently, there's a Beetlejuice 2 coming out.
Is there? Okay.
That's, well, I just learned something new there. That's news to me. Yeah, I'm trying to... There was something else about Elfman that I'm trying to remember. My notes are bad. This is why you don't handwrite your notes. You should type them all out. I was trying to find out stuff on... so I did take a minute to look up influences on Tim Burton, like who inspired him, right? Like if you look up... Like I plan on doing a call on George Lucas too, side note. And his influences are all over the place. But Burton's like, apparently he was an animator at Disney, which I didn't know at all. Yeah. So that was news to me. And then they said some of his influence are like basically like obviously Universal monster movies and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like German Impressionism, I think, like Nosferatu.
And he liked watching, he liked directors like James Wales and Roger Corman, it says, and then he loved actors like Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, in which I believe Christopher Lee was in 2 of his movies or 3 of his movies. So that's kind of cool. And then artistically, he liked Mark Ryden and Ray Caesar, 2 artists I had to look up because never heard of him before. So that was news to me. But he does seem like it does have a very a lot of like horror films, dark films angles to it. So I don't know where I keep saying dark comedy because I don't think any of his movies are like comedies. You know, they all have that specific theme flowing through them, and that's his aesthetic, I guess, right? So I'm glad that he does. Well, I guess Pee-wee's Big Adventure would be kind of a comedy, which you haven't seen yet, so you'll understand.
But I will. Now I feel really bad.
No, don't, please. You're gonna watch it and you're gonna be like, this movie is not good.
I can blame it on like being a German American thing, so maybe it wasn't that big here. I can always just say that. Oh, I didn't have that here as a kid. We didn't.
I mean, if you didn't, I feel like if the big take from that movie is it was a television show that was super popular here when we were younger. And so if you didn't really enjoy that, because that actor, Paul something or another, he so he did the movie, and the movie was fun for people because they loved the show. And then that guy had his own personal issues to deal with, and then he came back. The first movie I think he came back in was he's the father in Batman Returns. He's Cobblepot's father, which to anyone that means nothing. But when I saw him, I'm like, hey, that's Pee-wee, and
stuff then, yeah.
He doesn't seem like whatever. He seems like a weird dude, but that's probably why him and Burton get along. But I was gonna also say, like, have you ever read any of Burton's books? Like, I haven't. He actually has. It's one of my favorite books. It's called The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy. And it's all these little drawings that he does these like spooky sketches. I guess they're like stick figures with big heads and stuff like that. But he did a book called, let me get the exact title. I believe it's called The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy. Yeah, The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy. You could get it, you could probably find it really cheap on Amazon. It looks like you can get it for like $5, but it kind of reminded me of, I think it was Edward Grimley that did the books like A is for Adam who died choking on an apple. Do you remember that guy?
Nope.
Let me... Grimley? No, Edward Grimley is not who I'm thinking of, because that is a comedic character. Whoops. Oh, boy. Somebody tell me the name of this guy. Anybody. I thought the name was Grimley. Adam Grimley? I don't remember, but my point is that's the dude that basically kind of influenced this book by Burton. And if you get it, like I said, it's like $5 probably on Amazon, but it's basically full of these like short stories that he did, but they're like 2 or 3 pages long, and they're all like cartoons that he drew, and they're all like really dark kids nursery rhymes. Like this one says, unwisely Santa offered a teddy bear to James, unaware that he had been mauled by a grizzly bear earlier this year. And it's this drawing of this kid who's like half his face is like grotesque, and then Santa's handing him a teddy bear, and you're just like, okay, but it's a whole book of this stuff, so it just kind of gives you like a inside to his mind, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was super, I mean, I think it sold out. It was super popular, and I don't think he ever made another book after that, which is unfortunate, because I would have bought it.
Yeah.
And if he did, please somebody tell me, because I clearly don't know.
But it's not too far from those like regular nursery rhymes and stuff you get for children. Like when you don't eat your soup, you get your hands cut off and stuff like that. So it's just like, yeah, just embrace this kind of stuff. And
I mean, have you ever read like Grimm's fairy tales?
Yeah, they're dark.
Yeah, I mean, Disney basically... Okay, just a side note. The show always deviates into another topic. You don't have to always talk about the main topic. Because we're going to talk about Grimm's fairy tales for a second here. Because I remember when I first read those, I was like, these are horrifying. But
yes.
Then you get the secondary, which is Disney basically took each of those stories and Disney-fied them. I don't know what the word... You know, like they made them happy. Like Cinderella... You know, those stepsisters cut off parts of their feet, right?
That's what I was thinking. That's the first thing that came to my mind. Like, one cut off her toes. I think the other one, like, cut off her heel.
Yep.
And
all then just try to fit.
Blood in the shoe and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep. And if you get a chance to read Grimm's fairy tales, I highly recommend it, because, I mean, those are like, I think they were German authors, weren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The brother.
Yeah, and they wrote it at a time where, like, there's a ton of weird stories like that in that time period. Like, and I want to do an episode on this kind of stuff, because I just recently read, it's called The Vey, I think. Vey. I don't know if it's German or not, but there was a creepy movie that a friend of mine told me to watch. But then there's this book, which is like super old. Like you can get it on Kindle for like $2. It's that old. But it's right up there with Grimm's Tales, where it's like, you know, a regular person gets caught up in this supernatural event and then deals with it the way you like. Disney always makes everything happy-go-lucky, right? But in a scary situation, your brain would bend, you know, and you would do some scary shit to get out of it. And I think Burton kind of edges on that with a lot of stuff, so I can see some of those influences in his work. But he doesn't tip you over, because I think then you would lose the love for his films, right? Because he kind of rounds you back to I want to say happy, but so your light just automatically shut off.
It's just I have my monitors on to get some secondary light, and then they when I don't move my mouse, they turn off. But yeah, I really like that part where it's like his movies never want to scare you, really. It's just more of like a celebration of those darker themes there.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Portrayed a lot nicer and more appealing than other stuff. So if you take like Corpse Bride, for example, where you have this like world of the living that is just gray and depressing and the worst, and then you get down to the land of the dead, and it's just colorful. People are dancing and singing, and it's just portraying this like darker stuff in life as something that is just part of it, and that is actually kind of fun in a way if you embrace it.
No, that's you said that a lot better than I could. One of my friends just messaged me. Kerm just said it's the artist I was thinking of is Edward Gorey. And if you haven't seen Edward Gorey's work, you should definitely look that up too, because The Melancholy Death of Oyster Boy by Burton like edges on that. That it's totally influenced by that work. There's no way it wasn't. Okay. And if Burton were to say it wasn't, I'd call him a liar. But because I'd be like, that is nope, you are full of shit, man. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking about when I was trying to tell you about that guy. And thanks, Kerm, for that, because Edward Grimley is a comedic character that was on Saturday Night Live. I figured that out by looking it up. I was way out of the ballpark on that one. I'm trying to think what else there was about Tim Burton that we can really discuss here. Because he does not have any, there's nothing bad about the dude. I mean, you know, like sometimes you can be like, he murdered a bunch of kids and he's filming movies or something dark like that. And there's nothing. He's just seems like a really cool dude. I did find out that I thought he was married to Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah, but I thought they were.
Apparently they were together for so long, and after 14 years, it's considered married, I guess. They live in England, I think.
Okay.
They live in a house that has like literally it's two houses. It's his house and her house, and a bridge that connects them. I was just like,
yeah, I heard that, and then I thought, oh, that's such a cool setup. And then I heard that they split up, and I thought, okay, maybe it wasn't such a cool setup. Maybe they were having some problems.
Did they split up? Okay, let's look that up really quick.
Yeah. I think in 2014 or something.
No.
Yeah.
Divorce is cruel. Oh no.
They just like tore down the bridge between the houses, and that was that. No, I don't know.
After 13 years together, Tim Burton and Helena Bonham Carter have split. The couple separated amicably earlier this year and have continued to be friends and co-parent their children. Okay. Yeah. Whatever. Who did she marry? Did she remarry? No. That would be like, he'd be like, we gotta demolish this bridge because it's between us. Yeah. But also, what? I mean, that was always a weird situation, I guess, but seems like Planet of the Apes wasn't very good for them. See, I told you that movie's not very good. It cursed them. It cursed that potentially beautiful marriage.
Yeah, but those like recurring actors, I think, are really special. That's something you don't get with every person making movies. You just like have Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter in so many roles, and it's just like this signature thing.
I mean, Depp's just a good go-to. Like, we can talk about Johnny Depp for a minute, because I really like that dude. Like, I feel like you could put him... He's perfect for Burton roles, because he is, like I said before, he's a weird dude. And you don't put him in... He can obviously play a serious role, because he has. But you put him in that role, and it just lets him, be himself, right? Like, and he just does his thing. And I feel like Burton probably just hires him, like, got nothing to worry about. Just tell him who the character is, and it's going to run with it, right?
Also, if you click on a personal level, you don't have to give that many instructions, and you just kind of know what the other person is expecting and their style and what they're going for. So I kind of being really cool.
I mean, they're probably like best friends, right? They shoot a scene and then they're like, let's go get dinner, or whatever. What's that?
In makeup.
Like, oh yeah, I mean, dude, that would be amazing, right? If you showed up as like Willy Wonka and you're like, we can get pancakes and bacon, like. But I always remember, him and Edward Scissorhands was like that. Feels like probably one of the harder roles he had because the costume and I still remember that movie had a lot of moments for me where I'm just like, that was awesome. That's a deep take, where like. I always remember where, what's her name? Oh man, why can't I remember the female lead's name?
Winona Ryder?
Yeah, Winona Ryder. Yeah.
Forgot.
I forgot her character's name though.
Yeah.
Kurum, if you're still watching, tell us. But But I still remember, like, where she's like, like, if you knew that was that person's house and you knew you were breaking in, and why'd you do it? And he's like, because you asked me to. And I was like, that dude loves the crap out of you, like, that's unconditional, so that really hit home for me when I watched that movie. And I just remember being a little irked by everybody in that town.
They're supposed to be. They're crazy.
They play their character. I always say go ahead, I'm sorry.
They live in, just feel like you took them out of a box and sprayed them a different color and then just put them all side by side. I haven't grown up in the suburbs or anything, but when I see that, I definitely don't want to. Just this weird take on it, this like exaggeration of garden parties and just people trying to keep up their image and just being like really weird.
I need to block this. Hang on one second. How do I do this? No. Ugh. I got weird spam messages coming through. Whatever. It happens. Welcome. It's just part of the... Here we go. Done. Sometimes I get random posts in the middle of it, and I get every time this show's done and we put it on YouTube, I get like random posts on YouTube for like adult channels, and you just like, why? Yeah. Like, I literally was just talking about a Disney movie. Like, why would you put that here? They
go after everybody.
But speaking of spooky suburbs, I do live in a suburb now. I grew up in the city, and we finally moved to suburbs, and I can see that. Like, I'm not trying to say everybody here is necessarily looking at me like this guy's a weirdo, we should burn him and run him out of town. But you get those looks every time, like, because this suburb is predominantly white. And I'm not going to make it about race, but I'm, like, that's what they're used to. So then a colored person moves into town and you do get a couple looks, right? And you're just like, I'm not, my brain is not going back to Edward Scissorhands. It's just like, that's life. And that's the one thing about Edward Scissorhands where, like, if you can put aside the fact that this character is this construction with, like, scissor hands, obviously, and wild goth hair and and he's to them a freak, but because they're basing it solely on how he looks right away. And like I said, he was the nicest character in that movie. But I think they did it right. Like, whenever an actor who's playing a villain, and in this case it would be all the suburbanites, right? Get it, like, elicit an emotion out of you, which is like, I fucking can't stand that person. Yeah. They did their job really well, right? Yeah. It's like King Joffrey. If you want to, have you seen Game of Thrones? Okay, good.
The later seasons.
The later ones were.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about the last season.
No, I haven't seen it. I just heard terrible things, and I don't even want to.
It actually was not a bad show. Like, it was. I have never read the books, but people tell me. What's that?
I've read the books so far. I'm still waiting for more, but yeah.
That dude's never finishing the books. He got paid so much money. He's just like, I don't need to finish this book. He also writes on MS-DOS. Do you know that?
I've heard that, yes.
Like, what the hell, man? You have millions of dollars. Buy a MacBook. It comes with Word. Like your life will change. But I think he doesn't...
Maybe he did buy one and he can't turn it on, and that's why he can't finish his book.
He's just lazy. I think he just doesn't like, he's like, he doesn't like technology. I think he's like, what's his name? Alan Moore. Okay, do you know Alan Moore? Yeah. Apparently this dude lives in a castle somewhere, and he just writes all these, like, amazing DC comics, right? But he writes them all, like, on a typewriter because he hates tech. Because there was this interview with him back in the day where he was talking about, you ever see the show Heroes?
No, I haven't. Nope.
Okay, either way, there's an episode where this dude's about to explode, and another character picks him up and flies him into the sky. And then Alan Moore watched this, obviously. I don't know where, because I didn't think he owned a television set, but he talked about how anyone knows that a air explosion is worse than a ground explosion. So it's stupid that you would fly the character up into the sky. But then he said the next weirdest thing, which was, I heard about this thing called the internet. And on the internet, there's another thing called Google, and you can look this information up, apparently. And at first, I thought he was joking, right? So I'm like, this guy's got to be kidding with that comment. But then I did a deep dive on Alan Moore. He's a weird dude who just lives whatever. I don't know if he's a Luddite or not, but he definitely doesn't like tech. And I feel like, I don't remember the name of the guy who wrote Game of Thrones now for some dumb reason.
George R. Martin.
Yes. So Martin, I feel like it's a little bit in the same aspect. He doesn't like new technology. He apparently started on MS-DOS and he's sticking to MS-DOS. Everyone's waiting for his last book, but I'm like, he got paid millions of dollars already. He owes you nothing. Also, people are mad at the last season of the show, right? Because they're like, if he was smart, and if you're watching this, Martin, I would give people the ending they wanted in that book. Because the show was a travesty at the end, you know?
Maybe that was his plan all along, kind of seeing how it tanks and how people really don't like it, and then doing the opposite thing. That's a good strategy, I think.
I mean, why not? I don't even remember how I got to Martin. I had a Game of Thrones comment. Oh, Joffrey. That's what it was.
Yeah, Joffrey, the most hateable character ever.
But that actor...
that well, like, developing characters that you absolutely hate. Like, some of the antagonists are just, like, the worst.
I mean, that character was brutal, okay? Like, don't think I've ever hated a character so much in a show. Like, you're just like, man, that guy's just gotta die. And then I saw an interview with the actor, who's actually a really cool dude, a really smart dude. And he doesn't act anymore because he was like, I'm just going to go back to school right now. And it's not because people hated him. He just was like, I think he felt like I've hit this pinnacle. Like, this, I don't think I can do better than this right now, but I definitely want to finish my studies. So he went back to that, which is commendable, I think. You know, he probably got paid so much money. He's like, I can just live on this for a while. Why not? Yeah. I forgot where I was going with that. That's just it. That's all I gotta say. If anyone has anything else to say about Burton, please let me know. Because, I mean, I feel like, aside from Edward Scissorhands, we talk about Big Fish and all that, but I think Batman was one of my biggest, love. I absolutely love Tim Burton for the way he filmed that movie, because I grew up loving Batman. I still remember begging my dad to take me to see that at the midnight showing. You know, and I was 10 when I'm old. I was 10. I'm not that old. I don't know why I said that. But I was 10 when it came out, and my dad was like, it's a midnight show, man. You're going to be super tired at school the next day. But in my head, and my wife has heard this story so many times, but in my head I was like, all the kids are going to watch it. Then I'm going to be at school on a Friday, and I won't have shit to talk about. And they're all going to be talking about Batman. And I'm going to look like this schlub who didn't watch the movie. And he took me, and I watched it. And I showed up to school the next day, very excited to talk about it. And guess what? Nobody saw it.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was just like, what does that mean? You know? And my friend Mike was like, you're the only one who saw it, which means you're actually very cool right now. Like, you have all the information. And I had to sit through, fucking 6 hours or 7 hours of class and not talk about this movie. And I was super hyped, I was just like, don't give away any endings. Don't talk about the movie. But, I had the books. I was Batman that year. I dressed up as Batman for Halloween. Burton did a great job because he gives you this it wasn't a young Batman, it wasn't the Christopher Nolan angle, right? Where you have the young Batman training and becoming. This was an established Batman. So you had all the cool gadgets and stuff too, right? And then that car was, I did a deep dive on all that later. I looked up stuff. My cousins helped me. I remember my cousin found me articles on how they built the car. So I knew exactly how they designed it and stuff. And I was like, this is amazing. They put a lot of time into that movie. Storyboards. I suck at storyboards, but the storyboards on that movie are fucking amazing. I forget the artist's name. But he had stuff the part where the plane Batwing is coming down and they shoot at the Joker and all the bullets go past him, right? And you're like, how did a single bullet not hit that guy? The storyboard for it shows the Joker like jumping, like all goofy like, and I'm like, okay. But I feel like Burton saw that and said, no, we're not going to do that. You know, just stand there and it looks cooler. And maybe, I don't know. But Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman.
Oh, is he?
Apparently he's in the new Flash movie, which is going to go into this world.
Yeah.
Which will be fun to watch because I think Michael Keaton was one of the best Batmans.
Yeah. Yeah, and about Batman, like just before that, what you saw on TV was just this weird show. Like I don't know from what time it was, but
it's the 60s.
And it was just so goofy and weird.
You're talking about the Adam West ones. Yep.
Yeah, you couldn't really take it seriously, and then this movie came out, and it was just like a really cool take on it. Finally, so yeah.
No, I mean, what's funny is a lot of people would argue that the Adam West one's the best one, but I think it's because that was their first. That's really not the first version of a live action Batman. There's an old black and white one.
Oh.
From like early on that I've only seen on YouTube here and there, but the Adam West was a take on a campier version because I think it was like the late 60s, early 70s, and it's supposed to be a campier version. And I am with you there. It was a little too weird for me having read Batman comics, right? I'm like, what? Because they would have like ridiculous takes on things, and I just couldn't. I still watched it obviously because I love Batman, right? But it was also I don't know how to describe it. It was a weird show, So when I saw the Tim Burton film, I was like, this is dark. But it's also Batman, like you're like that's what I've been reading in the comic books, so it's perfect. And I'll admit I've never seen Dumbo, so I don't know if it's good, but it apparently made, according to my notes here, almost $350 million. Dude, Alice in Wonderland made almost $1 billion.
That is insane.
And it only cost $200 million to film, apparently. Which I don't mean only, but that's a lot of money.
Yeah, he always makes like much more money back than he spends on his movie. So
yeah, he's clever. He's clever like that, and that's why he's a go-to. Oh, okay. My friend also said he did Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
Oh yeah, that's a more recent one too. I have not seen that either. For me, yeah, I really love those movies when I was growing up, when I was younger. Those few really had a huge impact on me. I haven't seen the more recent ones. The last one I saw was Alice in Wonderland, I think.
It doesn't look like he did the second Alice in Wonderland, so I don't know who did the...
Dropped out of that. He didn't want to do the sequel. Yeah.
Well, I feel like he was smart for doing that because he's probably like, I gave you this perfect film. Don't add to it, right? And what do they do? They add to it. So... yeah, the Alice in Wonderland I thought was cool because I always enjoyed the books as a kid because they were just crazy. And then I did here's a little side note here, but like I researched the author and all the characters in there, right? Like they all had like there were specific characters kind of to the world he was living in real life. Like the Mad Hatter, for example, was a term they gave people because they were getting was it silver poisoning? Like they used to make the hats and they would line them with like silver, I believe. And then, when you wear it too long, not silver. Yeah, I think it was silver.
Well, the stuff that you use in thermometers?
Well, whatever metal they were using on the brim was sitting on men's heads. And then, they walk around the hot heat. It would heat up their heads and then they would get poisoning from it. So then somebody coined the term mad as a hatter because that's what was happening. And then you have that character, right? And then like even the Cheshire Cat was based on a person in his real life, who was conniving, I guess. So it's cool when you do little deep dives like that because then you can see that in, and I'm saying that because I want you guys to go research Big Fish because those characters in Big Fish are based on people that Burton knew and then put him in, he couldn't be like, this is based on my friend John, because John would be like, that guy's a jerk, so to be very careful on your hot takes there. Also, if the book is popular or the movie's famous, John gonna sue you for some money, or something. I don't know. But we're coming up on the tail end of the show now. But it was nice having you on. I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's late there. It's like 7 there now, right? Or 8 o'clock now?
8, yes.
Man, it's super sunny for 8 o'clock by you still. That's amazing.
No, and hot.
I mean, it's 1 o'clock here, and I know my wife's gonna tell me to go outside. I'm definitely not stepping outside. It's too fucking hot. It's like 92 degrees. But hopefully, if you are interested, we can have you on for another show some point. We do. I've got a list of topics, but the hard part is trying to figure out what people want to talk about, and you gave me a pretty good list. I actually did want to get you on to talk about. I know you didn't want to talk about your art or Japanese culture on this one, but the Japanese culture stuff does sound very interesting to me because I only know so much about it, and it seems like there's a lot that would be very interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I definitely know a lot more about that, so we could potentially switch role.
Yeah, I mean that'd be fun because I would definitely be the one asking questions as far as what the hell does that mean, because I don't, I only know what I've seen either in documentaries or anything someone has told me, right? I've got 3 friends who live in Japan right now. Two of them are artists, and so I know some stuff based on what they would tell me, that's for how they're dealing with life over there. I know it's really hard if you're from the States, just trying to rent a place there, little things like that. But yeah, definitely we can do another episode. And then for anyone watching, if you have any other questions, you can ask them right now, or you can add them to the video later. This will be live on YouTube by this afternoon with all the links, I guess. So thanks for being on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting me. And I learned a lot.
I'm gonna send you a list of movies to watch. No, I'm kidding. I would really suggest you just look up YouTube videos of Pee-wee's Big Adventure and don't waste an hour and a half watching it. It's long. It's one of those deals. I feel like I'm at a point in my life right now where I really have to watch. If I really want to watch a movie, I'm gonna watch it because somebody told me it's really good. But if somebody's like, "Don't waste your time," then again, you might actually like it. I don't know, But Ed Wood is definitely one on the list. But yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. I had something else to say and I forgot. Oh, what I was gonna say was normally there's at least 2 more people. I actually have a co-host, Andrew Sides, that's usually on. So next time it won't be just both of us trying to figure stuff out.
Okay.
It's just everyone's busy today for some reason. So, but all right, I'm gonna take us offline for a second, so hang out for just 1 second, and then let me double check everything. We should do one on Danny Elfman.